Hi and welcome back to another video. So it's another baby names video, and God, I love a baby name. I've been sort of working away quietly compiling this amazing list of strong but gentle boys' names. John has quite a stereotypical sort of manly sort of job. He's a joiner, and so I think it was important to him that a name sounded sort of manly, whereas I come at things from being quite creative, quite artistic, and I wanted sort of a gentle sounding name. So on with the list then. Okay, the first name on my list is Gabriel. This has been on my sort of top of my list for absolutely years. Finlay was called Gabriel for about 7 hours, I would say. I managed to sort of convince Dan that he looked so angelic that the name Gabriel would suit him. I just always imagined Gabriel to be a baby that has beautiful golden hair, big blue eyes, and just looks sort of creative and artistic, and that's really what I think this name sort of sums up. And I just think it has that real sort of strong sound with like the hard G sound at the beginning, but then the softer sort of end to the name. Truth be told, Dan was never quite sure with this name. He always was a little bit concerned that a boy could be bullied with this name. I think a lot of men are sort of reserved on this name for the reason that they have this fear that a boy named Gabriel is going to be called gay, which I obviously think is ridiculous, but I can understand that a lot of men do have that sort of consideration in their head about possible ways that a name could be changed for bullying. However, it's at number 64 on the list, so enough boys are being called Gabriel for, I think, the old perceptions of the name to be dying off. And I think it will still continue to rise in popularity. I think it will end up being within the top 20 or top 30, I think. If we do at some point ever have another boy, I will probably have to get my skates on to use this name. The second name on my list was in our top 3, and that name is Jonah. I think it has that quite a surfer, hipster, laid back sort of feel to it. I think the name has that sort of soft, gentle sound to it when you say it, and so I think again it's that sort of perfect combination of soft, macho, or strong but gentle sounding. It also has beautiful name associations. The name Jonah means dove, which is a bird of peace. So again, fits in with that whole gentle idea. Jonah is number 159 on the list, which means that 358 babies were called this. And again, I think it's one of these names like Noah that will be set to rise. Okay, the next name on my list is Finch. I think I've used this name on a list before, but I think it just has that whole literary feel to it. I think using a name that relates to a type of bird again means that you carry that sort of strong but gentle association. Finch is still a pretty rare name. It's number 4,271 on the list. But I think within the next 2 years you'll probably see that sharply rise to around the 1,000 mark on the list. So again, I think Finch is one to watch. The next name on my list is Loxley, and oh my god, do I love this name. I think this name has such presence and style, and I don't know, I think it just has such great associations. I used to absolutely love the film Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves when I was a kid, and if you know anything about Robin Hood, you will know he was known as Robin of Loxley. I also fell in love with the name when I watched Mr. Selfridge, and although the character Lord Loxley was a bit of a swine, the name went on my radar again, and from that point I've sort of secretly loved it. And being honest, I sort of scrolled it away hoping that if I didn't sort of put it on a video that it would sort of stay rare, but I decided the name is just too good to keep to myself, so I thought I would share it on this list because I think it perfectly sums up that strong but gentle vibe. But I do have to say, if you love this name, you need to get in there like a shot. Looking back at the data between 2016 and 2017, it has absolutely rocketed up the list. It has moved 1,930 places, and it is now sitting at 1,146. So It is storming up the charts, and I think if you want this name, you need to use it now. How about Foxley? I have mentioned this name on a collaboration I did with SJ Strum, but I just think it perfectly suits this theme of strong but gentle. Foxley is a place name. There's an area in Norfolk called Foxley, and the name comes from the idea of Lee being a clearing, and so Foxley is Fox's clearing, which I think if you love woodland inspired sort of names or nature names, this is bob on. It's sitting at 3,627 on the list, which means that only 5 babies were named this last year. I also love the name Aspen. It's an area in Colorado, but I also think it's quite a nature-inspired name with mountains and scenery. I think it's quite a strong and daring sort of name as well, and suits that whole sort of adventure theme. But I think the sound of the name is quite gentle as well. Aspen is number 2,734 on the list, which means that only 7 babies were named this last year. How about the name Fenton? I think this is lovely. I think it's a great alternative to Finlay, and it means marshland dweller, so I think if you like nature names, then you will like this name too. It's number 1,923 on the list, and it is starting to gain momentum as it's sort of rising up the charts. How about the name Finnegan? Finnegan was an Irish surname that has now grown in popularity to use as a first name, although it is still pretty unusual. It's number 2,512 on the list, which means that 8 babies were named this last year, and has a similar meaning to Finlay, which is little fair one. If you want something rarer still, how about the name Finian, which is number 4,273 on the list, which means only 4 babies were named this last year. I think the name Max has that sort of strong but gentle vibe going for it, but it is quite popular these days, so if you're looking for a variation on the name that's slightly more unusual, how about the name Maxton? Maxton means greatest, so what a name meaning. It's number 2,324 on the list, meaning only 9 babies were named this last year. It's funny how just a slight variation on the name can make the difference in whether it's popular or unusual. So yeah, I really like this name. Another name that was on our shortlist for Finlay was Francis. There are days where I still kick myself that we didn't choose this name, just because I think it really goes with our surname far better than Finlay does. But Finlay just didn't look like a Francis. You could shorten it to Frank, and it straight off you have a very sort of strong old school style name. Or if you wanted something more gentle, then he could be Fran. I also love the nickname Francie. I think it's a really adaptable name. It's outside of the top 100 and it's number 238 on the list. Okay, a bit of a wild card for you here. I don't know if I would use this as a first name, but I think it would make an amazing middle name. It's incredibly rare. I noticed it on 2016's list, but it has now dropped out of this year's list, so it's completely unranked again. So brilliant if you're looking for a really quirky, strong but gentle name. That name is Fortune. I love it. How amazing would it be to have as a middle name? I love the phrase fortune favours the brave, and I think with middle names you can afford to be a bit more out there. It would be perfect if you've got a shorter first name and you're looking for something more sort of, I don't know, adventurous, quirky, strong as a middle name. Then you can tell I'm in love with this name at the moment. So yeah, not in this year's list at all, and on 2016's list it ranked at 4,023, which meant that only 4 babies in 2015 were called that. So tell me in the comments if you decided to go for any of these names, but in particular tell me if you go for Fortune. I would love to know if you have a baby Fortune running around somewhere. Okay, back to a slightly more sort of conventional name, but strong and gentle nonetheless. That name is Baxter. Baxter is 1,097 on the list and it's of Scottish origin, and I think it hits so many trends, this name. I think it's strong and gentle sounding. It's a surname name and it's an occupation name because Baxter was Scottish for a baker. So if you have any sort of connections with Scotland or baking, then again I think this would be a great choice. The next name on my list also hits a number of trends. The name is Ezreal. I think if you love the name Gabriel, but you can't convince the other half on it, and you love Ezra, but you think it's become a bit too popular, then Ezreal could be perfect. Ezreal means my help is God. I think it might be a Hebrew name, so hitting another trend there. It's number 3040 on the list, meaning 6 boys were named this last year, and I just think it's gorgeous. I think it's the perfect blend of Gabriel and Ezra. Another F name for you here. I've noticed as I'm going through my list, I've picked quite a lot of F names, but I tend to I'm drawn to them, I think. But I love the name Finnick. Finnick is also number 3040 on the list, meaning 6 boys were named this last year. When I was researching this name, I couldn't find much on it, apart from the fact that it was a surname name, and there was a character in the Hunger Games called Finnick O'Dare. Incidentally, I also like the name Fennick, and I can't find that on the list. Fennick has fox associations as well. A fennick is a type of fox. And there is also quite an upmarket department store called Fennick. Another name that is rocketing up the list is Gage. So I think if you love this name, then you should get in fast with this one. I think this is again a lovely sort of strong but gentle name. The meaning of Gage is pledge or promise. And you have all sorts of associations with this name, which I think makes it quite versatile. A gauge is also a variety of plum, so it has that sort of nature connotations to it. And I just also think it reminds me of Gabriel, but doesn't necessarily have the hang-ups that I think some men have about the name Gabriel. It's now sitting at 1,923, so 12 babies were named this last year. But it's one that's rocketed up the charts because it has moved 1,555 places. So it's definitely one that I think we're going to see within the top 100 within a couple of years. So definitely get in there fast if you like it. Okay, I've just got 3 names left for you. I have Hollis, which isn't even ranking yet. I think this is a lovely sort of male alternative to the name Holly, so if you're looking at a Christmas baby, then this would also work. But I think it's just a lovely sort of nature name. It means dweller at the holly trees. I mean, how gorgeous is that association? Hollis is a district in New York as well, so you also have that great sort of association there. I just think it's a really cool name, and I like sort of the IS ending, and I think that makes it quite versatile and means it could go with a lot of surnames. Next on my list is Cashel, which is an area in Tipperary in Ireland and is Irish for castle, so a lovely sort of strong meaning there for you. It's number 4,812 on the list, meaning only 3 babies were named this last year, so it is still rare, but I think if you like names like Dashel, then this would be a lovely sort of rare alternative to it. I like sort of the hard C sound, but then the SH sound sort of softens it up. The last name on my list is Giles. I also think the French pronunciation of Gilles is also beautiful. It's still quite rare. It's 2,172 on the list, which means only 10 babies were named this last year. I think it's one of these names that you could easily carry through into adulthood. I can imagine a baby being called Giles. I can imagine a toddler, a teenager, an adult, and then as an old man. I think it's just a real sort of timeless sort of name. So that concludes my very long list of strong but gentle boys' names. I would love to have you over on my channel, so if you aren't already, please subscribe and stick around for more videos on parenting, lifestyle, motherhood, all that sort of lovely stuff. I've also just launched my website, bexmassey.co.uk, so please head on over there and have a look around. And I will see you in the next video. Okay, bye!